Call order?
Yes.
I'd like to call order the Marquette County Board of Commission and Equalization meeting. Pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Linda.
Commissioner DePietro.
Here.
Commissioner Alamany.
Here.
Commissioner Lalonde. Here. Commissioner Nordine.
Here.
Commissioner Cockle.
Here.
And Chairperson DeRosa.
Here. Motion to approve the agenda for April 9th, 2024.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion by Commissioner DePietro, support. Support by Commissioner Lalonde. Any questions or comments on the agenda? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approve the agenda. Approval of the minutes of the following regular meeting held on April 2nd, 2024. Motion by Commissioner Alholm. Support.
Support.
Support by Vice Chair Nordine. Any questions or comments on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Minutes approved. No proclamations, awards, or presentations. Public comment. Public comment. Do we have any public comment tonight? Do we have any electronic comments?
Where's our electronic?
Where is
card?
our electronic? Okay.
So we don't have any.
One more time, any public comment? Hearing none, we'll close the public comments. Review of claims and accounts. Total expenditures paid via check and EFT transfers for the period of March 29, 2024 through April 4, 2024 were $843,009.46. And the biweekly payroll for the period ending April 1st, 2024 was $837,830.45.
Motion to pay the bills?
Motion by Commissioner Lalonde, support.
Support.
Support by Commissioner Adamini. Questions or comments on the bills? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Public hearings, there's no public hearings today. Privilege comment, Under Sheriff?
Thank you, I'm Sheriff Dan Willey. I live in Ishpeming. Give you the March statistics for 2024. Road patrol, we had 282 calls for service, made 43 arrests, wrote 79 citations, we policed 36 accidents, took in 165 civils and served 132 of them. Special ops, search and rescue, went out and helped search for a missing 80-year-old in Scandia Township. Another went out to Ishpeming Township for a 74-year-old that was missing, and did several trainings. 131 had 3 personal injury accidents they went out on, 1 in Negaunee City, 2 in Ishpeming Township. 3 structure fires, 1 Spur Township that was just in the Nebraska County that they needed some help at a fire up there. 1 Chocolate Township, 1 Michigami Township. The jail, we lodged 119 males, 44 females, released 118 males, 43 females, and our average daily population is going up. It was 85. We averaged 7 federal inmates per day, and we averaged 9 homeless per day lodged. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
So, just when you said Spur Township, so, we went over into Nebraska County. Do we have kind of some kind of mutual aid agreement with the adjacent county?
Yes, there's agreements between the counties of mutual aid.
Okay, oh, sure.
And I think we're probably closer than Berga, maybe.
We probably are.
Yeah.
and Michigamians
Right there.
has mutual aid agreement. They also have a collective
Oh, for the fire then?
fire and EMS.
And it's similar down in Rock too, where you have Delta and
Mhm.
Marquette County side. So I was just curious.
We've got agreements with all the touching counties, well, probably with all the counties in UP, I think.
Thank you for the, Undersheriff, for the update. No information item, action item. Equalization Director. There she is. You have the floor. Go ahead.
Hello, I am the Equalization Director for Marquette County. I think I know almost all of you. Actually, I think it's exactly the same as last year, isn't it? Or are you new?
I'm really
Okay. I didn't know if you were here at this time last year or not.
No.
In front of you, in your packet, you have the L4024, which is the Marquette County Equalization Report. It has the assessed and equalized values for 2024. Most of the increase is in the residential class. Overall, Marquette County is looking at a 9.89 increase in assessed value. Most of our studies showed that the residential class specifically was in between 42 and I'd say 48, meaning things were selling for a lot less than we had them assessed. So with that being said, then we need to bring our assessed values up to match market.
They were being sold for more, you mean? For,
No, so the assessed values were less than the sale price.
oh,
Yeah, so meaning we need to bring our assessed values up to the market value. Does that make sense?
yeah, I got it.
Okay. So there's really no huge changes from last year. It's about the same increase as last year. I think last year was a little over 10. We're a little under 10 this year. No one has an equalization factor. Everybody came in between 49 and 50. So overall, I think we're looking pretty good.
So overall, Nikki, from a percentage change, that 7.5% increase.
The taxable? Yeah, so the taxable value is on the next report. That is around 7.5% for Marquette County. And most of that is also the residential class. It's the 5% rate of inflation and then basically new construction. We do not have a Headley rollback because we had new construction. It wasn't all just from uncappings. So there is no rollback for the county millages. You should see, again, this is tentatively for the taxable, tentative increase of 7.5.
I mean, that's a healthy increase. I'm glad to see that, but I think it's not just the new construction, but the uncapping with all the sales, right? I mean, there were a lot
Yeah,
of
so
residential sales in the last 2 years.
the uncapping, there is a lot of uncappings, but because there's also so much new construction, we don't have a rollback. If it had just been from the uncappings, we would have probably seen a rollback in the county millages.
Okay. But I mean, as far as the, you know, you're talking about 10% or 7% or whatever, I mean, a lot of that is the residential sales have been hot, but we can't
Right.
count on that in the future
No.
because that's probably not going to keep up,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Could you explain what uncapping is?
So when somebody purchases a piece of property, the following year it is uncapped. So as long as you own the property, the taxable value can only go up the rate of inflation or 5%, whichever is less, until it's sold. The year after it's sold, that taxable value comes up to the assessed value. And that's why we have to maintain assessed values at around market or 50% of market value. So when they uncap, they're uncapping as close to the sale price as possible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions by the board? So interesting enough, that 7.5%, as the vice chair indicated, sounds robust, but let's not forget that the economic increase was about 9%, so it gobbles up a little bit when you're all done with that, so.
The inflation, you mean?
Yes. Inflation. Any other questions for Nick? Questions or comments?
Do we need, is this a resolution? Do we have to pass?
Yeah, I just want to see if you might as well stay there until we're done.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that presentation, Nikki. board action to, on 10, number 2, I need a motion to accept the evaluation values on Form L 4024.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Al Holmes, support. Support by Commissioner Lalone. Questions or comments on L 4024? Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Informational
Thank you.
percentage change on values assessed 2024. To accept item number 3, need a motion?
So moved to accept the informational item.
Motion by Commissioner, or by Vice Chair Nordine, support. Support by Commissioner DePietro. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Solid Waste Authority, item D. So, first, I want to, Commissioner Nordine will be abstaining on this specific issue.
Please enter the meeting passcode, followed by the pound sign.
No, they're logging in. They're logging in, they're doing this for
You want me to wait?
Don't be slow.
Who's logging in, Miller Campbell?
No, this is, yeah.
Oh. He's a little late.
Well,
Better late than never.
You are in the meeting now.
Okay. All right, moving right along. Can you hear us okay? Okay. All right. So, Commissioner Nordine is very informative on this issue. I'm going to turn it over to him to give the board his synopsis of the Solid Waste Authority issue at hand, and then we'll look for a motion to put it on the floor for discussion.
Okay, so
All yours, Vice Chair.
I'll give you some information. So first of all, I'm abstaining from this. I am the legal counsel for the Solid Waste Authority, and I don't stand to have any pecuniary gain from this, but it does look to be, it's better that I abstain, same as Commissioner Alholm does with Alger Delta. So as a summary here, the landfill, the Solid Waste Authority, is required to construct a PFAS facility at the landfill. And PFAS is a new emerging contaminant. We've probably all heard about it. And it's the regulations are catching up to it now, and they found that PFAS is this, they call it a forever chemical, and it's in the water in a number of places, all landfills really. And it's been around in the United States for about 30 years or more. A lot of it is polyesters or waterproofing things, cosmetics that if they don't come off of water, that means they probably have some PFAS in it. And now we discovered that that's a bad thing, and they're starting to be regulated. The landfill here in Marquette County discharges their leachate into the Carp River. And leachate, if people aren't familiar, is when the rainwater comes down and goes through the garbage at the landfill, it creates a watery substance which is full of chemicals and things, bad things. And since there's a liner under the landfill, it can't go into the soil, and it's caught and captured, and it's been processed. So it's been processed in the past by the existing processing facility, which is very similar to the processing facility you have at sewage plants. And it takes out the traditional contaminants that were taken out for sewer plants or for this sort of thing. What it did not take out was PFAS. So in order to have what's called a discharge permit with the state of Michigan, where you're allowed to discharge into that water body every so many years, 4 or 6 years I think it is, they have to renew their discharge permit. The landfill's discharge permit came up last year, and Eagle and the state of Michigan said, you're going to have to construct a PFAS processor. So that's what brought us to where we are today. There was supposed to be a project last year. The landfill put in for funding under the Clean Water Act SRF funds, and the state of Michigan came back and gave it a 10% forgiveness, which is similar to a grant, or we like to call it forgiveness, and 90% a loan. the landfill thought they should have got more consideration being an emerging contaminant. And as it happened, they weren't able to get everything ready for last year, and they pushed into 2024. And then with some incentives from the local legislators and from Eagle, they ended up getting a 60% forgiveness. So now they have a 60%, I'll call it a grant, even though they don't like to call it that, a 60% grant and a 40% low interest loan to pay for this processor, which is all good news. The problem with it is that the construction has to begin in 2024, fiscal year 2024, which means September 30th, the government's fiscal year. So we're struggling a little bit to try to get the bonding in place. In order to have the loan, you end up having a bond. In order to qualify for the bond, they have to clean up the debt that the landfill already has, existing debt. So you have really two bonds. One bond consolidates all their debt and pays that off, and one bond pays for the construction of the PFAS processor. So those are the two bonds that are required. When looking at just so everybody knows how the landfill authority works, is that there was an incorporation that occurred back in 1988 where they incorporated and started the Marquette County Solid Waste Management Authority. The two incorporators were Sands Township and the city of Marquette. But then underneath that, they had what's called an intergovernmental agreement, and they allowed any municipality in Marquette County to join, and as it happened, everybody joined. So all 19 townships, 3 cities, and the county of Marquette all joined this intergovernmental agreement. All of those units, except for the county, pledged their full faith and credit for any debts or bonds that there may be in the future. Now to the present bond. In order to do the present bond, we engaged Miller Canfield Law Firm, which is a typical bond counsel that we use in the UP, and PFM financial advisors. And what they said was that if we had all 22 units, the 19 townships and the 3 cities, sign on the bond, it would then, the bond credit rating would drop to the lowest unit. And there's some units in there that might not have good bond credit ratings. So they said that the rating you would get would be a B- or a C+. You'd never be able to work the bonds, nobody would buy them, because these bonds are sold. So they said that doesn't work, it's not feasible. But they came to us, Miller Canfield's a pretty experienced law firm, and they said there's another way around this. You can go back to the 2 incorporators, and they can sign for the bond. Now, when they sign for the bond, all they're doing is signing at the top here, but underneath that, they have the full faith and credit under the intergovernmental agreement for all the units, for all 22 units. And they also have the tipping fees, which can be set at whatever, at the landfill to pay for all this. So there's two mechanisms underneath there to make sure that whoever's signing for the bond doesn't end up really having to pay for it. The 2 incorporators, Sands Township and the city of Marquette, Sands Township agreed that they would sign on the bond, but the city of Marquette did not. And the reason for that, and they have a practical reason and a reasonable reason, is that they have some other bonds out there, and they're getting close to their debt ceiling. So every municipality has a debt ceiling. They can only borrow so much in bonds. And the city of Marquette is close to their bond ceiling. That's a problem. Now, interestingly enough, Marquette County has $460 million of debt ceiling, and we have nothing against it. So we have all of our debt availability sitting there. So it makes sense for the county to do this rather than the city of Marquette. In order for us to do this, though, we have to be an incorporator. So what Miller Canfield suggested was we do a resolution tonight, which all it does tonight is amend the Articles of Incorporation and add Marquette County as an incorporator. That's all we're doing. So after tonight, if we pass this resolution, Marquette County, the city of Marquette, and Sands Township would all be incorporators of the Solid Waste Authority, and they would still have, all the tipping fees and all the 22 units full faith and credit underneath that per the intergovernmental agreement. That's what we're looking at to do tonight. Then in addition to that, next week or in another meeting, we'd have to sign on the bond itself. So we went through this whole thing. We did want to have some guarantees. The chair had talked about these, and you'll see in your packet that there's an agreement between a letter of understanding, a letter of understanding between the solid waste and Marquette County. And in that, it says that the solid waste agrees to set the tipping fees at whatever is needed to pay the bonds. If they don't do that, they delegate that authority to this board, and this board can raise those tipping fees. So at the end of the day, there's not a whole lot of danger, but, you know, it is a responsibility, and that's what we're proposing we do. And it makes sense because, you know, this is a county-wide authority. I mean, the solid waste authority is used by the entirety of Marquette County. So it makes sense that, and really Miller Canfield said that other county landfills downstate had the county signing on bonds and being responsible for them. So the only reason I think that we weren't in the beginning is that when it first started with the city of Marquette and Sands Township, you weren't certain that everybody was going to join it. I mean, the West End could have had their own, and they did for a minute, right? So you weren't sure that everybody was going to join it. But now that everybody has joined it, it's the entire county, it certainly makes sense from a governmental standpoint that the county be the overarching authority and that we sign these bonds. So there you go. A lot of information. I hope I didn't confuse you all.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, having said that, can we get a motion on the floor here? Motion by Commissioner Adamini, support by Commissioner Long. So I have some questions and some conditions, but let's start with maybe Commissioner Long.
Yeah, like, I saw, well, this edition, I see what was added. Their financial. Have some say in that, because it concerns me to take on their debt, even though you're reassuring us that there's safeguards in place, that it wouldn't just fall on us. It's just,
I think that's just doing our due diligence, because we're pledging taxpayer money.
Yep.
So we should be able to have a way, the mechanism to look at the financials. May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Okay, so in 1988, this was incorporated. Why, I guess it seems odd when there's only two incorporators, Sands Township and the city of Marquette, why we can add ourselves 35 years later.
You know what, Karen, I totally agree with you. When Miller Canfield said that, I said I would have never thought of that. But again, they're, you know, as our administrator said, that they're pretty creative people, and they've been doing this for a long time, and they claim that we can do that.
And without the
I have no
other-
idea, I would have never thought of that.
Without the other municipalities.
Sands Township and the city of Marquette have to approve that, but why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they want the county's financial wherewithal to come into play? So, yes.
Okay, so we agree to get on board, and then Sands and Marquette City have to say, okay.
And tonight, as we speak, Sands Township is having their monthly meeting, and they're considering this resolution as well. The city of Marquette has a meeting in 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, I think 3 weeks. And if we pass this tonight and the Sands Township passes it, then we're gonna meet with the city of Marquette and make sure that they understand that, first of all, there's no choice. I mean, otherwise, we're not gonna have a landfill. And secondly, that it's really not, it's to their benefit. It's to their benefit to add to county, it really is.
Is there any sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Is there any liability to the county doing this? Are we gonna look at some liability down the road as an incorporator that we don't have now as nothing incorporated?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Potentially.
Okay, could you give us your thoughts on things?
Well, anytime you're an incorporator, I mean, there are things outside of the landfill potentially could pop up, right? But on this resolution, what they're asking for is just to be an incorporator so that you can sign the bond. My question though is, are we adding Marquette County or are we replacing the city of Marquette?
We're adding Marquette County.
And how does that relieve the city then, if the two incorporators, if the original incorporators are required to sign the bond, are they still required?
You know, I was surprised when Miller Canfield said we could amend the incorporation documents that, like Karen said, and I asked the same question. I said, isn't it still gonna affect Marquette City's debt ceiling, right? That's what you're getting at.
That's what I'm
And you know what Miller Canfield said? No, once we do this resolution, the county alone can sign the bonds.
The county issues them.
And so here's my guess on
Okay.
that, is if the county itself inherently has the credit rating necessary because of the debt ceiling limits, that we could replace the city for the purposes of the bond, but not necessarily as the incorporator for all other purposes.
Well, we do have a letter of understanding with this saying that we have no financial obligations other than the bond. So we are trying to,
But the
this,
bond people need the county's credit rating.
Yes.
And debt ceiling limits.
Yes.
In order to approve the bond and get it at the rate necessary.
Yes.
To be able to sell those bonds
Yes.
on the market.
yes, all those things.
Correct.
Right.
Okay, I guess.
So let me jump in here if I may. Commissioners, feel free to, we can circle back. I just want to get some clarity here for everybody. So we have a situation where for decades, the former chair, there was no financial obligation outside, I believe, the $40,000 for a bridge back in the day. Here we are today with some odd circumstances, as Vice Chair just reeled out, with the PFAS issue, losing a 60% grant, which is very, very large on this project. So we had meetings with staff at the Solid Waste Authority along with the board chair back several weeks ago. And our financial department has gone over and reviewed some of their financial condition. And having put all of this together, we don't have a financial obligation outside of this bond. And that will be stipulated, as I understand it, as we move forward. I also had a list of conditions that I feel need to be met if we're going to pledge the full faith and credit of Marquette County to make this work. And I think it's the right thing to do, knowing that, one, we don't have the financial obligation, but it affects everybody in Marquette County. This affects everybody, the tipping fees. Every city, every township, it will become unmanageable. So I had some initial concerns, and I've always shared, and I've not been silent about the fact that I always thought there were some fundamental flaws in the inception of the development of that solid waste authority. So some of these conditions I'll line out publicly, that's in front of the board members here tonight. Total length of bond, not to exceed 7 years. It's a 7-year bond. If we can't crack the nut to make this work in 7 years, I have a hard time supporting it. So I think a 7-year deal can make this work. I know it's very aggressive for the Solid Waste Authority to swallow that. But I don't like to do things in a hurry, because we typically make mistakes when we do things in a hurry. This has a short timeline window, and we need to address it. So one of the things I've marked down here is 7 years, total length of the bond not to exceed 7 years.
Is it okay if we interrupt you there?
Sure, go ahead.
Why did you choose 7 years?
Because our other option was 30 or 40. And we're not Wells Fargo, we're not in the business of lending money. And it is not our specific task of lending money. We have other county entities like the medical care facility and also the health department, and we have our own challenges that we have to maintain. We've not borrowed any money. As the vice chair alluded, we have $460 million ability to raise funds and bond. And that's because we've kept a tight wrap on our finances. And my thought was, this affects everybody in Marquette County. So I would look at it, and one of the reasons we looked at it is because of Bill's efforts and his hard work on this, because otherwise I don't think we would be talking about this today if he had brought this forward. The second item is whether it be, I believe I marked down articles of incorporation, but it may be intergovernmental agreement. The articles of incorporation amended to allow the Solid Waste Authority chairman position to be voted on annually each year by the constituent membership. And then a signed memorandum of understanding that Marquette County has no financial obligation outside of the terms of the 7-year bond. The fourth one, all financial structures must be approved by the current Marquette County accounting firm, Anderson Tackman, or whomever we're contracted with. That could potentially change.
Who would pay for that?
I'll get to that. Yep. And then a third-party auditor, because there's been some, I'll use the word discrepancies in the accounting and how that's perceived. So I want to make sure it's cleaned up, and we have a third-party auditor that does financial monitoring of the Solid Waste Authority accounting on a quarterly review. And I'll follow up your question in a moment as I work down the list. And what that does is that protects our bond. Because if we have, and this was pointed out by our finance team, that if we go by a specific audit, that whether it's Anderson Tackman or whomever does the audit work for the Solid Waste Authority, you're a year behind, and then you're 6 months behind before you ever get the results of the audit. So you are a year and a half behind before you ever know there's a problem. That doesn't work when we're bonding $9 million, not for me. I want to know that there's a quarterly audit with a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and that audit would report directly to the Marquette County Board and the CFO of the county. And also, there were a couple of red flags that I saw that I believe could be addressed by the Solid Waste Authority and get these items cleaned up. Was one, they need to have a signed and approved by the state of Michigan deficit reduction plan. I don't know that that's been, I understand it's maybe been filed or it's created, but it's not completed. And I think that is a must. That has to be.
Could you explain what that is a little bit more?
So there was some, as I understand it, maybe Ann could even talk a little bit better, but I'll just briefly touch on it, that there was some uncommitted funds that had been used that cannot be used as that and have to be paid back. Ann, can you?
Yeah, and I have limited knowledge as well, but my understanding is if you're in a deficit situation, you need to provide a deficit elimination plan to the Department of Treasury. And so they're currently working through that with the Department of Treasury. Something has been submitted, and their finance person is going back and forth with them right now.
Okay, thank you. And then lastly is, I would ask that the Solid Waste Authority create a plan moving forward to enhance the post-closure fund, which needs to be fully funded with cash, and reduce that $2 million line of credit. The state allows the Solid Waste Authority to use a line of credit to put in, let's call it an escrow account for post-closure costs. And that number is $5.3 million. Currently, the landfill authority has $3.3 million. Now, I understand that was raised over the course of time. So to fill the gap, they used a line of credit. I would like to see that a budgetary item line to raise that back to the $5.3 million that's needed. Over the 7-year plan, or maybe that needs to be over a 10 or a 12-year, but it needs to be addressed. I think that's, from an accounting perspective, when we take, and we have a hard line obligation that says we have to have 5.3 million for post-closure, I don't think we should be allowing, and I know the state allows it, but that's becomes a liability, and I think we should address that funding moving forward. So having said that, I'm certainly supportive of bonding for the money that's needed to clean up it's in entirety, not just a portion of it. I think, we could look at a smaller portion, but I don't think that's gonna do, one, the people that pay for the landfill, the authority, or the taxpayers of Marquette County, is best value. So, the total of 8.3 with, construction allowances and move that number to 9 million. So I would say safely that we would look at a $9 million bond for 7
Well,
years.
I think the bond ends up being whatever the construction is, so it's just an estimate now. So I mean, I don't think you're allowed to get more than it is, I think you just end up.
But I'm using a target number
Yeah.
that we can say projected costs of allocating $9 million of a bond.
Okay.
Okay, at the current bonding rates. And now, go back to your question about cost. So, there would be an administrative, number put to the $9 million bond that would offset the third-party monitoring and the, cost of administrating this. That would be on our side, right? So we would handle that. Not that we need to have any more work, but we could contract that out. I don't think, we need to create any more work for Ann and her staff. So I think there has to be a funding mechanism for that. That's where it would come from, to answer the question about where does that money come from.
I have a couple more questions.
Sure.
Are these conditions, are you suggesting they just last as long as
7 years.
all 7 years? And I know there's a couple of solid waste people out there. Have you had access to our proposed conditions at all that we've just been discussing? There's 7 conditions that we've got listed that basically financial oversight or audit type thing. Have you guys had a chance to look at these?
I didn't quite hear all the
Okay,
questions, but,
So if I could,
Can
yeah.
you come up, Randy? Come up to the podium, please.
So we have the letter of understanding, which has many of these conditions, like the 7 years and everything, it's in our packet.
Yeah, it's
So a
in the
lot of the
packet.
stuff that the chair is talking about are here. The things that are added, which I'm trying to clean it up a little bit so we can understand it, I wrote down 4 additional things for this letter of understanding, which they would not be aware of. They just came up and,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying?
So these,
Okay, so here's what I understand.
let me
Yeah, go
jump
ahead.
in real quick.
Yep.
So these conditions outside of the deficit reduction plan were already discussed with Randy and his team.
Yes.
There were 6 conditions, now there's 7, right? We talked about, when staff had come back, they had a concern about making sure that these other items were addressed, and I said, that's not a deal breaker, it's part of that. So Randy was aware, and along with his team.
oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So if everybody looks at the letter of understanding, that has incorporated most of these things, other than, I think we need to add four items. So besides this, and for instance, number 7 of the letter of understanding says that the repayment will be set for the bond will be 7 years. I mean, that's one of the things, you know. It has a lot of oversight in here. It has, number 9 says that if we incur costs, that they'll reimburse us for those costs. Okay, so all those things are in there. But here's what I think that we need to add according to the chair tonight. Number 10, quarterly audits by a third-party auditor, which reports to both the Marquette County and the authority. I mean, they need to see them too.
Okay?
Okay, so I mean, I think that's necessary, and that's fine, so that's, and I don't want to say Anderson Tackman, because who knows who we go with.
And I think if you look in the memo, it says or other.
Right. So number 10, quarterly audit by a third-party auditor, which reports to both Marquette County and the authority, number 10. Number 11, the authority will work towards a deficit elimination plan with the Department of Treasury, which they're doing.
We're doing that.
Right, number 11. Okay. Number 12, the authority will plan to enhance their post-closure fund in the near future and in a way to not use a line of credit. The authority will create a plan to enhance their post-closure fund in the near future and not use a line of credit for...
Try to eliminate the.
We're trying to eliminate the line of credit. I'll have to word that a little bit, but...
So can I do
Yes.
something? I'd like to clean this up. So
Yep.
Linda, could we call this memo that was printed and added, 10, BD? Sure. And add it to, and that we would take the memo of board conditions in concept along with the letter of understanding and have a new one crafted with the conditions put in there, and that way we can move this forward.
Okay.
Is that?
You need to do a motion to
Add
adopt
10.
a letter of understanding as modified.
As modified with 10 BB would be my,
Bill, what was your fourth?
Unfortunately, so the fourth one, number 13, was the authority agrees to set the tipping fees based on $9 million for both bonds. So I mean, that's an assumed amount. That's what we need to, what you are saying is, hey, set those tipping
Yes,
fees now. We
that's
don't
an
know what it's
assumed
actually
amount.
gonna be, but hey, let's be conservative and set it for $9 million, which is both the bond for consolidating the debt and the bond for construction.
Right, consolidated debt is just under 5 million.
Yep.
And what we're gonna end up, the most we'll end up with after the $7 million grant and 60%, or not grant, loan, 60% would be 2.4. So we're looking at 7.4. But I understand where you're coming from, and I don't have a problem with that.
so the difference was clean it all up, so you have one good rate, one good, and you don't run out of money in midstream, that if we use, it's a sort of total of, in the 8.3 and we move the needle to 9 million, that would get enough cushion for discrepancies and cost runovers. That was where I came up with the 9
Yeah,
million.
well, and, you know, that's, I don't have a problem.
The current debt, their current debt that has to get cleaned up is 5 million.
It's-
I'm
I'm
it's-
just trying to
it's-
do the math here.
Correct. Yeah, what it is, we still have $4.2 million from going into single-stream recycling for the state, for the county of Marquette. That's 4.2 million, and then we've got less than $1 million. I think it's 700,000 to 600,000 for the BOMAG and for a front-end loader that we are paying on. But, so that's less than 5 million there to consolidate that. It's 4 point something. And then the 2.4 from the,
Are we doing this, we've got two different things, the construction and the consolidation of debt. Is this all gonna come out of one $9 million bond? Or-
correct.
No.
Well, it'd be two bonds.
One
Two-
bond equaling 9 million.
Correct.
Correct.
Although he's saying
Correct.
7.5 million, but we're saying 9 just to be conservative.
Yeah.
I have one comment, if
Staff?
I may. Just a quick comment. Typically, and we're gonna see this at your next meeting as well, because Wayne will be here for the bonds for the water project. Typically, you put in your request for more money when you do it. So if in some reason they come in with they get quotes for the construction or bids on that, it's higher, and they've already got it, you don't have to go back for more money. So it's typical to go ask for a higher amount or
Yeah.
prepare to have the board approve a higher amount just in case. You don't necessarily need all of it, but that's a common practice with them.
So,
I guess I'm just trying to understand, if it's 7 million, and then we're only gonna ask for 9 million, but he has another 5 million that we have to clean up,
No,
so 7.
no, no,
Part of
no, no.
that. Part of that.
Is the amount that was provided by the state. 60% of that is forgivable.
Okay,
So it's a loan, they call it, but 60% is forgivable.
okay.
so having said that, Vice Chair Nordine, will clean up this language and provide that document to civil council for their approval? Is that?
I guess, although we should,
And then we
Right.
can hand that off.
Okay.
And Randy can go and.
Sure.
Okay.
Can we just not call it a quarterly audit? Can we call it instead of a financial review?
oh, financial
We can
review.
call it that, yes.
Review, okay. Quarterly,
Vice Chair, did you get
Review,
what the
financial
CFO
review.
would like to have?
got it. Financial review, got it. So the only thing, and it's getting a little messy now because we're dealing with the letter of understanding to incorporate most of these things, but then we're dealing with these other bond conditions that we came up with. Now, we're trying to incorporate all.
The solid waste authorities agreed to all.
And we don't know that, but we're gonna, if we do our resolution tonight, which we kinda need to do because we're running out of time and Miller Canfield said we need to do it, we can make it contingent on the authority signing this letter of understanding.
So we have a motion and support on the floor, and we're going to add 10 BB. Is that right? Counselor?
Just a point of order, we gotta make sure the minutes reflect this motion, if it's passed, is contingent on the,
Contingent on
From the
the,
landfill signing it,
the
or,
letter of understanding being, executed.
yes. Whoever made the motion and the support.
Commissioner Adamini.
Adamini.
And
and Malone made the support.
Are you ready for me?
And is that with the modification to say contingent upon?
Contingent
approval by
upon
the solid waste
approval.
authority? Is that okay with you two guys?
Right.
The modification, yep,
Is this
We're good.
the resolution?
This is just a letter of understanding. This isn't the resolution, I don't think.
This is the letter of understanding.
This is the letter of understanding.
That's what I understood. That's what you understand?
Letter of
I need to
understanding.
understand.
That's what I want to make sure that.
This got a little, we got in the weeds here. All right. So let's take, so we have a motion by Commissioner Adamini, support by Commissioner Lalone. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Adamini.
Yes.
Commissioner Malone.
yes,
Commissioner Nordine.
Abstain.
You're abstaining. Commissioner Alholm.
Yes.
Commissioner DePietro.
Yes.
Chairperson, I know, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, may I ask a question? When will I have the signed document of this letter from you so that I can sign it and go to the Sands Township and get their approval?
Before the end of the week.
Before the end of the week.
week.
Oh, okay.
Before the end of the week.
So I can tell Sands Township that we're getting, and I can move forward with them. Okay, good. Otherwise I have to wait another month. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
I'm getting sick.
Now we have the resolution itself,
Now, where's my resolution?
which just adds Marquette County as incorporated. Which I thought was, Steve, I don't know how you feel about that, but I was surprised they could do that, same as Karen was, you know, I guess we're all attorneys, but they do that for a living, so it's like, okay.
That's why I'm hoping
Yeah,
they know this stuff.
I was surprised you could do that, but okay.
Okay. So we have that in front of us. Looking for a motion to amend the articles.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Alholm, support. Support by Commissioner DePietro. Questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, roll call, please.
Commissioner Alholm.
Yes.
Commissioner DePietro.
Yes.
Commissioner Adamini.
Yes.
Commissioner Malone.
yes,
And Chairperson DeRosa.
Yes.
I abstain.
And you're abstaining.
Okay. Item C, COVID workforce development.
You want me to take?
I do.
I'm sorry, I want to make sure my notes are accurate. That motion was just to amend the articles of incorporation of Marquette County Solid Waste Authority.
To include.
That's right. So it's not the bond resolution yet. There's another resolution to come in the near future.
I'm up to speed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. What you have in front of you, it's a pretty self-explanatory memo from Health Officer Jerry Masada. The Health Department has 2 years in a row received COVID workforce development funding. It has, they can use it for various things, such as staff training, whether equipment needs, among some of those items that were used for some of the fiscal year 2023. And then they receive some additional money in 2024. They're going to use a little bit of that money for some training, but right now they have approximately $191,000 left. It has to be used and spent by June. And one of the things that's permissible here is to put those into bonuses for the staff at the health department. And so therefore, it's coming to the board as a recommendation, excluding a small amount for some training, that the rest for some bonuses for the health department staff. So right back to COVID, it'd be approximately $1,000. So there's a strong recommendation from staff for the board's consideration.
So,
I'd move we follow staff's recommendation.
motion by Vice Chair Nordine, support. Supported by Commissioner Lalone. Questions or comments? I'm going to make some comments, but go ahead first.
So first, I want to recognize the administrator, Mr. Urbish, because he's really been part of this. So I feel like he's responsible for this. And also, the union rep also brought this up to our attention that, hey, you have funds that may expire in June. So I want to make sure the proper people are recognized, and I think it's the union rep, and I think it's our administrators. Good for them, because, you know, we don't want to be sending money back to, I don't know if this is state money or federal money, but it's COVID money, and we don't want to be sending it back if we can give it to our employees.
I wanted to know how many employees recall.
You're gonna challenge me right now. I don't want to say that. They have 60, but I don't know if all of them were there. So it's roughly 60-ish, give or take. You can do the math, I guess.
60 times 200.
There you go. Any further comments?
Not just one. On the resolution itself, and just point itself, I mean, the very last line where it says be it further resolved. It says for every employee, the memo that we have from Mr. Masana excluded himself.
Oh.
But when I'm saying is,
So we can modify the resolution that to reflect every employee must exclude.
the health officer, I don't know that you need to name him.
So it's,
No.
Yes.
it's not just wage grades, it's you're giving this to every employee, meaning that your staff gets, or what you call them, your executive staff get it as well, right?
Yes, my is.
Everybody except for the director.
So I guess, are you willing to amend your
Yeah, I want to amend my
motion
motion that it excludes the
clean up
health officer
health officer?
for the resolution.
And Commissioner, will you good with the amendment? Okay. I have one comment I'd like to make. It's a wonderful thing that was a hard time and difficult on all the staff, and it's nice to see that you can get that bonus. Well deserved. Hearing no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Resolution.
Oh, resolution, sorry.
No, I'm up, yeah. Commissioner Nordine,
Yes.
Commissioner Elholm,
Yes.
Commissioner DePietro,
Yes.
Commissioner Adamini,
Yes.
Commissioner Romero,
Yes.
and Chairperson DeRosa.
Yes.
I didn't realize these were people from the health department. Are you from health?
Yeah, ask me.
I didn't realize.
And
Okay.
I noticed the shirts.
I see happening, but I didn't know I'm going to be allowed to ask.
Oh, yeah, you would.
Mr. Ray.
Good evening, Commissioners. What I have before you this evening is a request to pre-approve a FAA grant that we're expecting to come very soon. This is a grant through the bipartisan infrastructure legislation. It is also coupled with a MDOT sponsor contract that we also would need to be pre-approved prior to their arrival. The scope of work on this project is some engineering specific to our general aviation apron area. This piece of pavement has a lot of deficiencies, and this initial grant will do all the engineering reflecting the reconstruction of 12,000 square yards of one section and an additional 12,500 square yards for sealing and spall repairs. This is all on the general aviation side of the apron. This final application was submitted, and as stated earlier, I anticipate the FAA is going to be awarding this very soon. The project cost for this, for the engineer, or for the entire grant, is $215,610. This is broken out into the shares right below there with the federal, state, and local. The federal share on this it's a 95-5 split. Federal share is $194,000. The local and the state share is just a little over, or just shy of $11,000. There is one more component associated with this grant, and I intend to bring that on a future meeting. I believe it's the next meeting, and that is in reference to the actual agreement to get the Mead and Hunt engineering agreement pre-approved, contingent on the grant, but that'll be at the next meeting if the grant has not arrived yet. So staff recommendation is to pre-approve these two agreements, and then also to do a resolution for both as well.
Coming up, not tonight. Are we doing a resolution for both?
I have a.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Do we do the
Oh,
vote?
yep.
We take 3 separate actions?
So,
Because I'm going to move to follow staff's recommendation and pre-approve acceptance of the reference grant, authorizes necessary signatures.
let's,
We have two resolutions, one for the FAA grant and then one for the state.
Should do
A
them
and
separate.
B?
You should do them
Separate?
separate. Should do them separate. Yeah,
Let's
I
do
would
them
think
separate.
resolution, you should do them separate.
First resolution.
It's cleaner.
I made the motion to pre-approve it, so that's number one, then we have the two resolutions. Right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, motion on the floor by Commissioner Alholm, support by Commissioner Lalonde.
That's to approve it, so that's not for the
To
resolution.
approve the request. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Now I need a motion to approve the resolution, the first one.
I would move to approve the resolution presented by staff for the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation Administration.
Motion by Vice Chair Nordine, support by Commissioner Alholm. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Nordine,
Yes.
Commissioner Alholm,
Yes.
Commissioner DePietro,
Yes.
Commissioner Adamini,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde,
Yes.
and Chairperson DeWitt.
Yes. Now we have to look for a motion to approve and execute, number 2024 XXXX.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Alholm, support by Commissioner Lalonde. Roll call, any questions or comments? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Alholm,
Yes.
Commissioner DePietro,
Yes.
Commissioner Adamini,
Yes.
Commissioner Lalonde,
Yes.
Commissioner Nordine,
Yes.
and Chairperson DeWitt.
Yes. Thank you, Dwayne.
Thank you.
10E, Scott? The update, Don Bianchi update on facilities in the courthouse. I'm not sure, are we doing 215 and 231?
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so as part of the updates to the communication, the recording equipment and everything, we found that, just like this room, the ceiling grid is locally old and doesn't look very good, the lighting's not very good. They also are finding that there's so much more technology, unlike when the buildings were built, they don't have the ability to plug in, in terms of the components here. One is to install the new grid and lighting into the main courtrooms, and then also to have the electrical work for the standard home. We'll be working with the grids, only staff recommends one to go there and bring out. About $45,000 funding is coming from government.
Look for a motion to support the low bid. Support by Commissioner Adamini.
I'll move it.
Or Commissioner Adamini moves, support by Commissioner Lalonde. Questions or comments?
So the low bid is for both the electric and the ceiling. Okay. It's nice to see that they're both local.
Yes. And interesting to see, you can see the difference with what the new lights have done versus what the old lights are, right? No further discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. No late additions, public comment?
Hello,
State your name.
my name is Maggie Holland, and I am a health department employee. I am the ASME president in the 1613.
And I'm Jolene Spencer. I'm the M&A rep for Marquette.
And I'm Emily Stack. I'm the vice president for Local 1613.
And forgive my ignorance, so I'm not sure if we're allowed to ask questions specifically on the resolution that was sent, the memo. But we're a little bit curious. So I heard the number 191,000, right, for bonuses, and then there's roughly 60 employees, give or take. So I'm just wondering if it's $2,000, where the other potential $70,000 is. Because I know some of that is for training, because there should be $212,000 that we have right now in this grant funding. So about 20 is set aside.
So public comment is public comment. We don't
Okay.
typically get into a question and answer
Okay.
debate. But
Okay,
you're more than willing to continue on.
okay. Would you maybe be able to?
We've just been
how I do
asking
that?
for
Send a
trans.
request to the administrator.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
Okay.
We've been asking as unions since December for transparency regarding this funding, as well as the infrastructure funding, which can be used for retention of staff as well for bonuses. So we would just request like that, and we can do it formally by
When did you
FOIA
say
too.
you grants?
Since December
December. Thank you.
of 2023.
And did you can do a FOIA request if necessary.
Yeah.
You don't need to, just,
you, Scott, perfect.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate that, thank you.
And thank you for approving that resolution.
Public comment. Do we have, public comment, any further public comment on the floor? Any electronic comment?
We don't.
you know, if they raise it, they'd have to electronically raise their hand, yeah.
Hearing none, one more time. Public comment? Public comment? Hearing no more public comment, close the public comment. Commissioner comments. Commissioner DePietro, would you like to start off?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is going to be for Dwayne. Duray. So, this is involving the Water Fluoridation Quality Award at K.I. Sawyer. The Center for Disease Control and Presentation Support for the Community Water Fluoridation is based on more than 75 years of experience and research to show that water fluoridation is safe and effective for promoting good oral health. CDC commends this water system providing high-quality water fluoridation for 12 consecutive months in 2022, representing a high level of operation care and accomplishment. Now, this is a very, very high certificate of award for quality work, and it names Dwayne Duray as the leader in this project at K.S. Sawyer, and Nick Holomaki, who is his supervisor there, also is a very, very top-notch employee out there also. So I thank both of them. You get back and you see Nick, you tell him the county board said that both of you are doing very good. If you want to say something, go up to the podium.
Yeah, I would just want to clarify, yes, we get this on a regular basis because of the service that we provide to the community out there. And it would not be right if I didn't put the spotlight less on me and more on Nick Hotomaki. He's currently on vacation and he needed it, but he is an outstanding employee. Marquette County should be very proud of an employee like him because he is very conscientious and he is all about providing the best service to the Sawyer residents. And without his guidance and leadership, we probably wouldn't routinely get these awards. And I can only put all of the spotlight on Nick. I'm more of a silent partner who just sits back and watches how well he operates.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Anything further, Commissioner?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Adamy?
Nothing, but I congratulate the body for excellent discussion we had here, and complicated things, and yet we did it in an hour.
Barely.
Commissioner Lowell.
No comment.
No.
You know,
Vice Chair.
I have to jump in on the Dwayne Duray thing, and even though Dwayne's kind of humble, and I do get after Dwayne about different things, because he has a lot of things come before us. Dwayne does a good job, and I think it's not just Nick Hadamaki, but I think it's Dwayne as well. And you know, the fluoridation is an interesting topic, because Sawyer fluoridates their water, and it's a incredible debate that goes on. See, Forsyth Township does not. And it came before Forsyth Township, and you should have saw the people that came out against fluoridation. And it was, I didn't understand it at all. And Dr. Art Sari, who just passed away, had been in the health department for 30-some years, it was one of his favorite topics, because he talked about the history of fluoridation, and it was discovered on some island where these people were 70 years old, all had good teeth. and he said that that's how it was discovered. And he's not with us to tell the story, so I'm giving you an abbreviated version. But it's a good thing, I think, and I'm glad that Sawyer does it. Yeah, that's all I have.
Staff?
Nothing, thank you.
Counselor?
I don't have any comment.
So I'd like to thank the Vice Chair for all his hard work on this solid waste authority issue. It's a very important issue to the residents of Marquette County, because it affects them directly. And also like to thank finance staff for all their extra effort that they did above and beyond. So thank you for that. And that's all I have.
Mr. Chairman, just to finish the story that Commissioner or Vice Chair Nordine had said about Dwayne, I had wanted to say the same thing, but I want to give him a chance to do it. So I thank him very much for saying that, and he appreciates it very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome. Meeting adjourned.